countless hours in the garage with your dad. Now investing in that old car and working on it with your son reminds you of him. And his legacy lives on. Fund your passion with a low-interest home equity line of credit from Bank of Blue Valley.
Oh,
so tricky. Look at you. There you are, Scott. Hi, Scott. How are you, friend?
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. I was commenting that your dress looks beautiful, but you informed me it's not a dress. And then you informed me your son has Spirit Week and there's a theme to it that connects.
It's the best theme I've ever heard for a Spirit Week. So we were going through the Spirit Week and I go, what is Zoom Day? He's like, oh, it's new. I'm like, what is it? He's like, we dress fancy on top and PJs on the bottom. So for a high school Spirit Week, Zoom Day, I'm going to start using it just for life. In fact, I am using it for life right now.
Obviously, we have a lot of business listeners. So as you are talking of ways to collaborate and get people into the office and make that time meaningful, I think having a Zoom Day is good. And I'm sure Bank of Blue Valley and Burns & McDonnell will be doing that as well. And one thing I thought was kind of cool is I just saw another recognition for Burns & McDonnell. I mean, obviously they have thousands of employees throughout North America and around the globe, but they're doing a lot of work in STEM. Speaking of high school students, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Are your children interested in any of those?
Yeah, fun fact, Devin actually works for Lily and James because he does a lot of the video editing and stuff, just the side pulling sounds and stuff like that. And so he really likes that. And then my 13-year-old is really big into gaming, which is really kind of in the technical situation. He takes his computer together and puts it apart. And then my little Lily wants to be a doctor. So she will stay in that. So it's kind of interesting. Kind of all of the stuff they're really into is definitely in that technology space anymore.
Yeah, speaking of that, there is in July, once a month, the first Tuesday of the month, we book a CEO to talk with Aaron and Will Fox of Bank of Blue Valley. And they interview him for a short interview with the CEO. And one of the contractors from a diverse background, Nilson Goez, is going to be on the show in July, which is a partner of Burns & McDonnell. So There'll be a chance to tie Bank of Blue Valley. Right. Oh, no, I can't do it on. It's hard with this. It's always backwards with Burns & McDonnell. But what other announcements do you have? Because I don't think people like listening to us. I think they want to hear from the panel. The panel is really popular.
Yeah, they are really popular. But first of all, we've already got people jumping on here. So tell us if you're watching us. I can see you guys are watching us. So jump in here. Say who you are, what you do, who you're excited to see. So we want to know, are you watching on Facebook, YouTube? We've had people watch on YouTube recently. Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn. Usually most of you guys are watching us on LinkedIn. But let us know over here. And then, I'm pretty excited. We have some really great people today on. So I was going to tell you really quick, speaking of Burns & Mac and Bank of Blue Valley. So Bank of Blue Valley is down the street. And every time we drive there, my kids remind me, they're like, there's Bank of Blue Valley. I'm like, yes, hi. But the other day, for the first time, we went to brunch for my son's birthday on Sunday down in Brookside. So we drove by Burns & Mac and I was like, see, that's where Burns & McDonnell is. My kids were like, that's like a town, right? Because all the different buildings, they were so, I got some cool points, I think, with that.
Global headquarters right there off Ward Parkway.
Exactly. All right. We've got Mike Myers here watching on LinkedIn, looking forward to today's show. He's excited to see Anné. So let us know who else is watching. All right, here we go. We should go ladies first. Let me get my music ready. This music situation doesn't get any better.
I love the music. I think it's wonderful.
Of course you do. Of course you do. All right. Anné. We've got Michael, Sean, and Scott. Let me change this thing when we stop. And then it just stops. It's terrible. Hi, guys. How are you?
Hi, good. That was catchy intro music.
Oh, it's a really great. We have nothing to work on when it comes to the intro music, so I appreciate that. Listen, we haven't really had many media celebrities on here, so you're going to give us a run for our money today, Michael. I think, right? You're already shining right.
Yeah, you are.
All right, fair enough.
All right, Anné, who are you? What do you do, and how do you get to Kansas City?
Sure. Well, thanks for having me on the show. I'm Anné Erickson. I am Vice President at JLL, so Jones Lang LaSalle Commercial Real Estate, here in the Kansas City office. And how did I come to be here? I'm a Kansas City native, so born and raised in the Kansas City area. Went to KU. I left Kansas City. I moved overseas actually for a job out of college for shy of a decade before coming back. And once we started having a family was kind of the catalyst for that. And not long later, transitioned over to JLL, which I'm an office broker. So I work with companies to find their office space, relocate their office space as they expand, contract. Right now, subleasing is quite popular, as many know. Buy their buildings, all of those things. And so once we kind of settled down and knew we were going to stay, I moved over to JLL and specialize on the office tenant rep side of the world.
So, Anné, I'm going to throw 3 things at you. You tell me which one is not true. You married a high school superstar football player. You ran a half marathon after giving birth to your 3rd child. You raised and sold hogs. Which one is true or untrue, and what 2 are true? I'm stumbling you, so that way you don't have to say it.
The first one, I did not marry my high school sweetheart, but I did marry a high school football player that you know very well. And the others are all true.
And so
I did. I put myself through college raising and selling hogs and steers at the Johnson County Fair.
What inspired
Little
you?
known fact, Scott, throwing that out there.
Wow.
What inspired you to do, I don't know if it was a marathon or half marathon, but I think I was blown away with everyone else of like, holy moly, she just gave birth to her 3rd child and you're an executive in your company. What inspired you to do that? What was the moment? Like, walk us through that.
It was actually, so it was my 10th half marathon, which was kind of a fun little mile marker. And I had set a goal after my first, she's now 5.5 years old, was born, that I would do a half marathon after each kid. And so I've just stuck to that. And so the season after, whenever they've been born, I've done it. And it's probably because chasing 3 kiddos around, I would like to be working out as much as I would like to, but unless I set a goal that requires me to, it doesn't happen as much. So that's probably actually why that happened in the first place, was I needed a deadline and a goal to get to.
Right.
So yeah.
Pretty impressive. I saw it on Facebook and I was like, what is she doing?
Yeah.
I saw it from my bedroom on Facebook. And my teenager's still sleeping in, and I was like, what is she doing? It's pretty impressive. But
well, there's your plug for Burns and McDonnell. It was the Burns and McDonnell Rock the Parkway half marathon.
Look at you. You're a great guest.
Way to go, Anné.
I think what's the most impressive is that you seem to do a really good job. And I know everything's different behind the scenes, right? But we get to talk a lot. So you never look like you're like, you seem to do a really good job of balancing family, work, passion stuff. So I guess what's your secret for that? Because a lot of times people don't seem to as well as you do.
I would say that I would agree with many other professional women out there who would say balance is not always likely. And I wouldn't say that I necessarily have it in balance. I think everyone does as good as they can, and you have to keep your priorities straight and you do as good as you can about it, because nobody feels like they're actually achieving their balance. I don't think anybody actually feels like they're achieving their balance. I don't feel like I am. If it looks like it from the outside, that's great, but it's not to be perceived by anybody that anybody has their stuff together fully to the degree they wish. Another cheesy fact of my life is my husband and I actually also have a mission statement that we kind of run our family by, and our relationship and our family. And honestly, when it comes to balance, that is probably the biggest reason, if ever we do have things in balance, is because when push comes to shove and things are getting too heated, too overloaded on one side or another, it comes right back to what we actually have committed to prioritizing, and then start cutting, because you'll always be over pulled.
So what's the mission statement?
We're committed to the passionate pursuit of a successful life as it pertains to faith, family, finances, health, career, education, and overall well-being.
You're such a good business person. Look at you. Gosh, I don't even know. We're
You
just
made me
trying
nervous,
to
putting me on the spot. Like I can't say it, but yeah, that's
I was thinking like it was going to be 3 words. I didn't realize that you're going to rattle it off.
very impressive.
so.
All right, listen. I got to pull up this up. Mike called you the Mahomes of commercial real estate. Oh, and Brian loves the mission statement idea. Well, his lucky partner. I don't know if he has a partner, but if not, you've got plans tonight. So I'm sure Brian will just write one for his household too. That's pretty fun. I like the idea of that too. Think my teenagers will do it with me? Probably. All right, listen, we got some fans over here. People are kind of fanning over here. They say, I'm here to see the famous Michael Mackie. Ditto. All right, Michael, who are you? What do you do? And how do you get to Kansas City?
Oh, thank God I'm here. No, I hail from Des Moines, Iowa, and I went to the University of Iowa, and I studied broadcasting because I always knew that somehow I wanted to be in TV or on TV or watching TV. That was the litmus test for my career. And I worked at a TV station in Des Moines and ended up transferring down here. I got promoted to a TV station down here. I started way back 100 million years ago at KMBC in promotions, and I was also an entertainment reporter. And I've worked at 3 different stations here in the market. And in between that, I have sort of ping-ponged between I'd like to think I'm a triple threat. No, I can't sing, dance, or act, but I can write, produce, and direct. So that has kind of become my claim to fame. And I've bounced around from a few different ad agencies here locally, and then a few different publications. I was recently freelancing for The Pitch, and I still like working for them. So it's been a good gig. But towards the beginning of the year, I was on a personal quest to find a new dream gig, like a forever gig. And I wrote this blog and I just put it out. I literally wrote this blog just for me, kind of manifesting my own destiny, what I wanted in my new dream gig. I wanted to be creative. I wanted the ability to travel. I wanted something where I wasn't necessarily at a boutique agency, where I was at something a little bit bigger. And I put this blog out into the universe at the beginning of the year. And let me tell you, I went to bed, and by the next morning, I woke up and it had 1,000 hits. And it had 1,000 hits the next day, and the next day, and the next day. I don't know what it was about me just sort of putting out into the universe the kind of job that I was looking for, but it really resonated with people. And I got more hits, more clicks on my blog on michaelmackie.com than I ever have before, just off that little aside that I did. At the same time, it also got a lot of recruiters and headhunters calling me. And unfortunately, as much as I would like to say that those were all ideal positions, they weren't. They were people who, it's like they sort of skimmed through what I wanted out of my next dream gig, my next forever gig. And so I've sort of fallen into freelance, and that's where I'm at right now. But as I was telling Scott when we met a couple of weeks ago, I still am on the hunt for my next big boy job. And that's kind of why I'm here today, to tout my brand. When I'm not writing, producing, or directing, I just got accepted into the Society of American Travel Writers. It took a village, people, to get in with them. But ever since I have, it has opened up a lot of doors. Like the Society of American Travel Writers are about 1,000 extremely vetted journalists, travel professionals. And once you get in, it's like you're in for life. So I've had a lot of opportunities to travel. I got my first big boy assignment, which is coming up on Mother's Day weekend. They're sending me to Dorr, Wisconsin. The Wisconsin Dells. I've never been. It's a maritime tour. So I'm going to go visit some lighthouses, go on a fishing expedition, things that are way outside my wheelhouse. And I'm going to be writing about that. So, but in the meantime, like I told Scott, and now I'm telling the universe who's watching right now, especially if you're a headhunter and you're in the media field and or the advertising field. Yes, I'm on the hunt for a new job that sort of checks all my boxes professionally and personally. So that's where I'm at right now.
So, Michael, I'm so distracted with the denim jacket that you showed us, and I'm just thinking.
I'm not showing you the denim jacket again.
No. You didn't. No. I'm just thinking, like, man, that would be a great theme party with our mutual friend Mindy, who's watching. But
denim jacket theme party, I'm in.
I agree. So, but one thing that that strikes me is you've had so many experiences in life, but you have such a high empathy level. It's just like when you meet anyone, that you can really tell that you really have their best interest at heart. Where does that empathy level come from? And then also, just a sidetrack, what are some other well-known articles that you've written that have caught on fire? So empathy, articles that have caught on fire.
Okay, on fire. For some reason, I have the ability to talk to anybody about anything for any length of time. And that has proven very valuable as like an entertainment reporter, or even when I hosted Kansas City Live. There were times when, at publications that I worked at, where I would have to interview a CEO or a CMO with little to no background, and hey, can you talk to this person? They're available for the next 10 minutes. So I would kind of have to wing it. And I really realized that at the end of the day, I'm a storyteller. I like telling people stories. I don't care what that story is. I don't care what it looks like. I like the beginning, the middle, and the end. And I like to be able to shamelessly and blatantly promote whatever they have to tell, or whatever they're selling, or whatever. In terms of I'm trying to think, the most read thing I ever wrote in 2019, I had packed on a bunch of weight and I decided to give up sugar for an entire year. Actually, it was more than sugar. It was the motto was no sugar, no sweeteners, no starches, no gluten, no kidding. And I wrote about it for an entire year. I blogged about it nonstop. And all the good, the bad, the homicidal rages, and there were plenty, because I did not really realize how addicted I was to sugar. And I wrote about that for the publication I was working at the time. And then several other national publications picked it up, and it just kind of caught wildfire. And so that was 2019, the whole year. And then, of course, we all know that in 2020, the world went to hell in a handbasket. And of course, I started eating everything in sight. So it was good while it lasted. But it was a good year-long sort of deep dive, because I wanted to do something that encompassed a year of my life. And I really got a lot of good publicity and press from that. And I still, to this day, have people reaching out about my no sugar journey and how I could help them, or what I could do for them.
I like it. Okay, couple things here. First of all, Toby says he loves listening to Michael Mackie.
Oh, yeah, thanks. I fill in on KMBZ on the Dana and Parks show when Dana's off or when Parks is off. I'm the main fill-in guy. So that's been a fun little side gig for the last 7 or 8 years.
And then I want to do a challenge with you. Can I challenge you to something?
Of course.
So
a little faith.
You know that there's actually a blog platform. It's called Articles on LinkedIn, but you haven't actually blogged on there since 2018. And I think if you were to blog about your dream gig on there, that might catch some fire and get the right recruiters.
Fair. You know what? You are 150% right. And it's funny, those articles often get picked up and posted on there. I don't necessarily do that, but you, young lady, are 150% right.
I know LinkedIn a little bit, but yeah, I was looking because I think that you get quite a bit of traffic there if you posted natively on there. So try
done
that.
And done.
Awesome. And I know we have a lot of advertising people watching, because that's kind of my space. So hopefully the right people see this, and I'll look at what I got. I know that's out there too. So I got some messages to.
Well, like I said, freelancing is been great. It's been wonderful. It's more than been paying the bills. But I'm excited to find, like I said, my next forever gig, and it needs to check a lot of boxes personally and professionally. And I just want to be able to shine and thrive for the company that I work for. So that's my main goal.
I love that. Listen, if I could afford you, I'd hire you on the spot. I really like you. So, but you said no boutique agency, so I'm out. So I'm going to find you something bigger. All right, Sean, who are you? What do you do? And how do you get to Kansas City?
Good afternoon. Well, I'm having to follow Anné and everyone else. So, Matt, sorry. And so I'm kind of sitting here. It's a long road ahead.
Yeah, follow Michael, and he's a radio show personality. It's a tough one.
There you go. I apologize. I need to listen more often. My fault. First, before I start, I can confirm that however many miles Anné ran in the last 8 months, I've run probably 300 less. So that just kind of gives you a good thing on priorities and just what happens after that. So to everyone, my name is Sean Kennedy. I've known Scott since he was 18 years old. And along with his crew, we've stayed close, both as friends, now as colleagues. So it's always always blessed and honored to be part of your show or anything else that you're doing here across our awesome city. I'm from Wichita, Kansas. I'm a CPA by trade. I work with Adams Brown CPA, and this may shock someone, but April 19th in a CPA firm, it is quiet. It is quiet here, and hopefully everyone that does tax, which is not me, is deserving a well rest. So gave me a chance to work on this. I'm a CPA by trade. I work in the consulting space, originally from Wichita, Kansas. How did I get to Kansas City? I also, like Anné, went to the University of Kansas, went to grad school in 2008. And when you're looking for a job after grad school, after the crash, your options are pretty limited. So I didn't even think twice about looking at any other cities but Kansas City. When the offer came, it was, I'm going to accept this or else it'll evaporate in 2 days. So with that said, have been here ever since. Love the city, love the community. My wife's from here. Our family's here. We have no intention of leaving. Certainly in the near future, we're pretty much entrenched here as well, and the community. As for my career, started off working for the Big Four, both in the audit space, and realized that was good experience, but I didn't like the audit work. So found an opportunity with another large global firm in their consulting space, where I did forensic accounting and dispute advisory services for this firm for almost 7 years. That entails of keeping your suitcase packed at all times, getting phone calls and saying there's a problem here or an issue there, and spent a lot of my time jet setting to locations and helping companies identify problems and help maybe navigate and hopefully mitigate a lot of these problems, the issues that came with it, specifically on the financial and accounting side. And I absolutely loved the work. I found that I was naturally good at it, and I really enjoyed helping and solving problems for clients. But with that, I thought the only problem with this is that we're only getting a call when something bad happens. Rarely is someone coming in and saying, hey, I've got this wonderful opportunity and I really could use someone to sit next to me and help me navigate and make good decisions. So what can I do with my career where I'm going to be put in that position where I'm not just coming in because someone got caught embezzling, or they committed a major violation with the Department of Justice, or they're going through a major legal matter. That happens. What can I do? And as fate would have it, I get connected with Adams Brown. Adams Brown we're a regional firm located in the state of Kansas. We're one of the largest standalone firms in the state. Traditionally, have always been a tax practice and audit practice, but really the last, especially 5 or 6 years, have really invested in our consulting side. And was put in touch with our managing partner in Kansas City, Michelle Ryan, came forth and said, I need a partner. I need someone to help me really build out and develop and add depth to our advisory practice. And that's where I've been over the last couple of years. So my days are pretty consistent, but also pretty hectic at the same time. It's really what it comes down to is working with companies across any industries, predominantly privately held, small to medium-sized companies. We will work with some larger companies, and just working with them on how can we add value to your business, given the circumstances, which can range anything from whether it's tax advisory to maybe helping them navigate some transactions in an M&A space, or maybe just giving them better financial reporting and insight into their business. And that's especially right now, I'd say in the last year and a half, has really been a hot commodity for business owners, is with inflation and uncertainty and just the environment that we live in. There is a new premium put in place on what does my company look like on paper? What are my key metrics to evaluate performance? And then how can I be opportunistic, all while managing my risk on the back end? And those are the tasks that we're currently being challenged with providing for our clients.
So you can't use the answer of people in this next one, because you love people and you're great at connecting and you're great at bringing out things. But what is one thing that you're incredibly passionate about? And what's one thing that you're really great at? And you can't say people. So personally, what are you passionate about, or professionally? And what are you great at?
Scott, I've always kind of said this, you can probably get me. I've always said this, we all have egos to fill, and we all, and so what work are you doing that feeds your ego? You know me, I'm pretty open and transparent. And for me, I've always liked providing advice, surprise. And I've always liked, help, but with that, providing it to help people or put them in a good situation to be successful. So that's what I've always been passionate about. It's not just meeting with people, but it's helping them, helping add value. That's the most fun part of the job. For me, that's really been the most passionate piece. What was the second piece? Sorry, I started rambling.
No. And I love how you and I are both so honest, like, hell yeah, it's ego. And, I know I nudge Aaron a little bit here and there whenever we ask the question of who motivated you or who inspired you. And it's always motivated. But what are you passionate about? And again, it can't be family, it can't be people. What's something you're passionate about, either personally or professionally?
This back to me?
Yeah.
Sorry. I mean, I think we both, I'd say what kind of drives and motivates and passion is being successful. But it's not just the fact that you are successful, but why are you, or how did you earn that success in the first place? Especially in the last year, one of my favorite offerings to provide clients is ERTC credits, these large employee retention tax credits that a lot of companies have taken advantage of, that are injecting hundreds of thousands of dollars on instances back into their company that was part of the CARES Act. And it has been more fun in this situation to reach out to a client or someone and go, did you apply for this? And they're like, I had no idea it existed. Or we tried. Well, the rules changed. Surprise, surprise. And just being able to come back and say, hey, guess what? You qualified for this much money. That's the most fun phone call. One of the most fun phone calls you'll ever make to someone is, congratulations. Here's a stack of cash that is heading your way. Thank you for, I'm glad I thought of you as part of the process. So it's, yes, will this deliver fees and revenues to the firm? Absolutely. But we got there because we were able to provide value, and it's a good case study for success.
Currently, how much is it per employee if someone qualifies?
Depends on the year.
This most recent year.
Most recent year, it was up to $7,000 per credit per quarter in 2021, $5,000 per credit per client in 2020. Pretty multi-tiered criteria test, multiple different types of tests too. It can be revenues. We're starting to get some opportunities with supply chain. So it doesn't have to be your revenues dipped. If you lost, if you think that you lost revenues during that time period because of a government mandated shutdown that impacted your supply chain, there's another eligibility piece to it. So it's not just something that you should, throw your hands up with and walk away from. There might be opportunity.
Wow. Well, as I type this to make sure I got
Yeah, that's what Aaron, by the way, I asked that question to have Sean triggered for you.
Don't look anything here, guys. Amazing. All right, Scott, who are you? What do you do? How do you get to Kansas City?
Hey, thanks for having me here. Scott Keene, and I am not a native Kansas Cityan. I'm originally from Florida, right in the middle of the state, small town. Lake County is where I hail from, and graduated high school there, enlisted in the Marine Corps, spent 7 years on active duty, and ended up in Kansas City the first time for work. And I was here for 3 years. I met my wife during that time, my girlfriend, now my wife, and she wanted to move to Florida, and that's where I was from. So that was an easy move. Everybody wants to be near the beach in their 20s. And so we did that. We lived in Tampa for 10 years. Both of our children were born there, a boy and a girl. And then in 2010, we moved back to Kansas City. She's originally from here, and I love it here. I always have. I loved it here the first time. It's definitely one of the best places on earth for me, anyway. So yeah, we moved back 12 years ago, and most recently, and the reason I'm here is to promote our business. We opened up Fajita Pete's. Fajita Pete's grills fresh grilled. Fajita Pete's is fresh grilled Tex-Mex, catered and delivered. We also have margaritas, and we do that from our storefront in Overland Park, where we mostly cater to businesses during the day. But at night, we serve families in packages of fajitas, 2, 4, 6, and 10. And we've been doing that for about a year. Fajita Pete's has been open in Overland Park, Kansas for about a year. Fajita Pete's is a franchise out of Houston, Texas. Pete Moore opened the first store in 2008. And he's now grown to We have 30 stores in Texas, plus us. We're the first one outside of Texas. And it's been fun the past year, growing a new business, growing a new concept. We're very much creating demand for fajitas here in Overland Park. Unlike in Texas, if we have any Texas listeners, or if any of you guys been to Texas, fajitas are pretty much like donuts down there. They're everywhere. Up here, we're trying to train Kansas Cityans how to step away from barbecue for their gatherings and enjoy fajitas. And like I said, we've been doing that about a year. It's going pretty well. And yeah, so that's who I am and what I'm doing now.
Where is your store located in Overland Park? And I'm assuming you looked at and evaluated many different businesses. Why did you pick the business that you picked?
That's correct. So the store is in Overland Park on 135th Street in Grandview, which is kind of between Schweitzer and Antioch. And that's correct. So I've always been a big corporate guy. Worked for a lot of enterprise companies and have done several years of consulting. My background is operational, sales, and a lot of retail, actually. And most recently, I'd worked for Sprint for 6 years and got laid off at the merger with T-Mobile. And it was, during my tenure at Sprint, I had a wonderful job. I worked with the independent operators of Sprint stores. We had 80 independent operators one time I was there and 40 independent operators when I left. These are all multi-unit per people who own, somewhere between 1, 2, 15, 10, 25, 250 stores. And it was with working with them that I kind of, like a lot of people as we get older and wiser, I thought, shoot, I want to own my own business someday, just like these guys. Look how successful they are. And obviously there's a lot of opportunities to learn from the people who weren't successful too. And so when I left Sprint, I immediately began to look at business opportunities. To be honest with you, jumped right into franchises because I'm not super creative, but I'm a guy with a legacy for taking ideas and making them a little bit better. Operationally, and I've got some sales experience. So I looked at franchises. I went to all the franchises that franchise.com says to go to. So dry cleaning, auto repair, optical. I looked at car washes, lots of things that are fairly low risk and recession proof. And I didn't do any of those, obviously. I was talking to some folks who were also looking at franchise opportunities, and a good friend of mine who lives in Houston called me one day and said, "Hey, I don't know why we didn't think of this sooner. This guy, Fajita Pete's, is beginning to franchise, and it's a good opportunity for these reasons." And at the time, almost 2 years ago, we were knee deep in COVID, and a catering, delivery, pickup, carry out concept. We don't really have a dining room, guys. So that sounded very interesting to me. I love the catering aspect of the business. One, because no catering job is like the others. They're all unique. I like solving problems for people. I like helping people. And by the way, the food is phenomenal. It's a very good product, excellent product. We were recently named Kansas City's best fajitas after only having been here for 9 months. It's that kind of good, guys. And if you don't have to take my word for it, you can just go to our Google reviews. We have 175 reviews and we're 4.9 rating. That's way better than any other Mexican restaurant in the city. And so I ended up at Fajita Pete's after looking at all those other franchise opportunities.
I'm super excited to try it, by the way.
You should.
Same.
Yeah, right. I'm like, I love fajitas. So you guys don't have a dining room at all?
Well, we have, you have to picture like your typical pizza delivery joint because we're really a fajita delivery joint. We do have a dining room. It has a table for 4, counter space for 9, and 2 tables outside that seat 2. And every day people dine in or sit outside now that the weather's getting better. And we love to have them. If you dine in with us, we serve your fajitas on a sizzling platter. But mostly we're a catering outfit and we deliver our fajitas. We have our own drivers. We also use third-party platforms like DoorDash and Uber Eats, but we have our own drivers. I have a whole, stable of high school kids that want to deliver. And that's what we do. We deliver packages of 2, 4, 6, and 10 to all the families around our store every day.
Mindy says she thinks she knows what's for dinner. I'm sitting here going, we're really not that far from your store either, is what I'm kind of thinking.
Yeah.
And thanks for all the money you give back to the community from Fajita Pete. That does not go unnoticed. Having lunch there Friday.
Hey,
So-
thanks. Mike. Yeah. So one thing I didn't mention, which is really important, and part of, Heather's my wife. Part of our personal values as well as our business values is we do think of ourselves as a community store. And if you come into our store, and I hope all of you do, you'll notice right away there's this huge mural on the wall about 2.5 miles around our store is kind of our bubble. And we have all of the teachers, preachers, coaches, and first responders kind of set aside on this mural with icons. And we're really trying to do business with all of those folks. We do restaurant nights for all of the schools where we give back 20% of the net sales. We've delivered free fajitas to our local fire station a few times. We work with other non-for-profits like War Horses for Veterans, which is an outstanding organization if you've never heard of it. And we want to be known as a community store. So yeah, that's near and dear to us. So thanks, Mike, for the shout out.
Awesome. Wow. We have a great panel that we're already 40 minutes in. Can you believe that? Almost 40 minutes in. So, okay, here's what we're going to do. I am going to play our Burns and Mac video of the day. And then right afterwards, Anné, you're going to go into answering the question. Are you ready?
Okay.
But I do have one quick question. Scott, somebody keeps walking behind you. What's going on over there?
I'm just trying to run a restaurant in here, but I got to keep up with Scott. No, new windows. So apologies.
That's okay. You're just like, we're so chill about it. And I was like, am I the only one seeing that? But I saw it a couple times and realized it wasn't just me. So, all right, here we go. Anné, as soon as she's done talking, it's all you.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Sunitha Levin from Burns and McDonnell, and I'm helping advance telecommunications across the U.S. My question for today is, what qualities in a leader do you admire the most?
All right, Anné.
Anné, I think you actually met Sunita with Jim in his Centurions class that we were in.
Yep. Quality of a leader that I most admire. I think the older I get, one of my biggest takeaways on leadership is what a leader is not, or like the damage of a poor leader can have on an organization. I think it's been my biggest realization growing older. I once heard this, and I think it's very accurate, that good leaders are we just had the Olympics, curling, the little people who run down the floor with their little floor squeegees. Your job as a leader is to literally get all the things out of the way for your staff to be as successful as they are capable of being. And like, literally, if your job is nothing, just to block and tackle and to get in the way of obstacles for your team members and for your employees, and make sure that they have full reign and access to get where they want to go. I would say it's my biggest, what I admire from good leaders is their ability to take care of all the other things for their team members.
Be the floor squeegee.
Be the floor squeegee or scraper.
I like that. All right, Michael, what's your answer?
I need a leader who is going to cut me loose and know that I am going to succeed at the project that I'm given. I hazard to say that I am a shrinking violet when it comes to people who micromanage me. And so that can sort of be like so the leaders that I've had who have just, you can give me as much work as is humanly possible and I will get it done. I've never missed a deadline, and I'm not about to start now. But if you hover over me and if you're asking me every 10 minutes, what's going on? Where are you at? How are you? How are things? I lose my ever loving mind. So I need a leader who is going to, the best leaders for me in terms of being successful at a company are the ones who just know that I'm going to knock it out of the park and I'm going to get the job done and I'm going to make them proud.
Love that. All right, Sean, how about you?
Well, I would say, really, so first and foremost, I've never met a great leader before that didn't have vision. I mean, it's their responsibility to provide direction and insight and let people want to follow leaders. So if they can't navigate the ship and tell you where you're going, then you're going to get lost. That's the first thing I would look for. More importantly, secondarily, and to Anné's point, and everyone's over time, you learn about what people aren't. For me, the best leaders I've been around have been the ones with a high level of self-awareness. Managing people is probably the hardest thing to do in any company. I think people know how to do the work. They can follow rules, get up on time, do whatever it takes. But really managing people and personalities, especially in a service industry like ourselves, where, especially when you do transition or we acquire new firms as part of our growth process, that's the hardest thing. And the leaders with a high level, they understand who they are, what they do well, what they don't do well. They understand who their team is, what they do. And it evolves into culture, and it becomes a part of everyone. That's the thing I've always taken away the most is if they don't understand who their employees are and why they do things, then how can you expect them to be good leaders? And I'd say the last piece too, for me, it's humility. I've always respected leaders and people like partners in my career that have come forth and said, I don't know how to do this, or I need your thoughts on this. I'm like, wow, you're in charge of me. I know this, but you don't. And I always respected that they were willing to, they had the self-confidence to acknowledge that piece. And then also too, it's concurrently, it's the people I've met in my life that have been, the most successful or the wealthiest. They're the ones that don't act like it. It's not outward facing. They carry themselves with class, with grace, with humility. They accept blame, they defer credit. And just those are ones I've always respected the most versus anyone that's hey, this is what I've done. Can't you tell? And because that's just how it is.
I'm going to pull up Roy. Roy said, Sean Kennedy, great answer about having and setting a vision as a leader. Self-awareness and the ability to listen to feedback is critical. Yes, humility. And I think that's great what you said, because we're going to go right over to Scott. He was talking about Texas, but I lived in Texas for years. And you could, you hear about those old Texas millionaires from oil, right? Those were the cowboys. They were the ones driving the old trucks, right? And they never had to tell you that they were. I was very lucky to learn that lesson long time ago, right? They didn't have to tell you how successful, but I think Texas is a great example of what you're talking about. So Scott, what do you see as good qualities?
Well, unfortunately, I have to go fourth. And I was listening to Sean. He named like 3 things, Sean, by the way, and you stole mine. I was going to say humility. And I think it's important because, I realized this after, working so many years in big corporate organizations where you worked on way too many vanity projects, because people just, they think they have a great idea and they just chase it to no end, especially when they have unlimited resources. So humility is really important to me. I like a leader who's also a visionary, Michael, good one. And those are the top 2 things I look for: humility and vision. I don't really have a lot of good ideas, like I said before. So I need somebody that can lead and, see into the future. But also, need that person to understand when, things have gone on a little too long, going down the wrong path. And that to me speaks to humility.
Aaron, I was gonna ask you the question, what do you think? But then also I was gonna ask for your permission I think there's multiple answers to this question. I don't know if we want to take it of what's not a good leader or what is a good leader again, because I think our panelists have more answers on the leadership side. But for you personally, what do you see as a good leader?
I want to pull up Brenda says trust as well, which I think is really great. I think transparency. And I actually did a LinkedIn post about this today, but I wanted to say it here. It didn't hit like some of my LinkedIn posts did, so I probably didn't write it right. But there's something that that happens a lot in this virtual world that I wanted to speak to, just because I think people aren't aware of it, especially if you're at the leader position, that I keep hearing in lots of mentoring I'm doing and stuff. I think in virtual world, we've all come to do all of our stuff so fast that if you're leading teams, we're putting meetings, right? Because I need to talk, because we're not seeing each other anymore. We're not passing each other in the hallways. So I need to talk to you. And so there's a lot of leaders putting meetings on calendars, right? Like say I need to meet with Anné, say we work together. I just put that meeting with no description. And the continuous feedback I'm getting from some of the younger generations that I'm mentoring and working with on stuff is that the anxiety that causes when you don't know why your boss put a meeting on there, and it's probably just, I just need this information, right? Really. But as leaders, we have to stop and see how that can be seen from other points of view and how much sleep could be lost and stuff like that. And I didn't even I'm pretty transparent. So I'm always like, hey, I put this meeting on there. And someone on my team came and said, thank you so much. My old boss used to just put those on there. And I didn't even think, I used to freak out if my boss did that. So transparency, and thinking how it can be seen from the other set of shoes when you are kind of in charge of, their livelihood and stuff like that, I think is really important. How about you, Scott?
Do you mind if I transition to Anné after I answer and talk about other traits of leadership?
Well, I think that maybe we talk about like what you think is great. I want to keep it around their personal brand. So what's like a lesson you've learned as you've been leading? I'd like to keep it around there because I think that'll kind of help people learn.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just think there's more than one answer. Recently, I think being present and then making decisions quickly. So taking the information that is given and empowering the people that you're listening to make those decisions. At my organization, people have, in a good way, have found out that, oh my gosh, you're going to make a decision on what I'm telling you. So it also puts people on their toes to be prepared, to research, to be well thought out. But it's empowering. I mean, if someone gives you information, they think it should be done a different way, snap your fingers, and it's getting done another way. So, Anné, for you, what are some other things for you personally as a leader that you feel is important that you want to share with the audience?
I think another one, just kind of touching on Aaron's point that I do think is extremely important is this is nationwide, all organizations and groups of people, is trying to always take the perspective of seeing how the other side of the table, the other person might be perceiving or receiving information, and to be conscious of that from a leadership standpoint. I think that one of the topics that's really important to JLL, I would say it's one of the bigger reasons I ended up working for JLL, and it now comes to play in our real estate conversations with our clients, is around diversity and inclusion. Our industry is not diverse nationwide, globally, period. And it's interesting how we're introducing now the conversation of diversity and inclusion as it relates to your real estate, and ensuring that your real estate is being utilized in hand with your policy goals you're setting. And with that, it's over and over again. It's interesting when you're really intentional about it. Have you sat down and thought about how everybody else who's different than you, who thinks about it different than you, who comes from a different background, is perceiving X scenario or X situation in the workplace? And in our world, it comes down to like, you say you want to hire of a certain, socioeconomic group. Can anybody without a car access your office place? Anybody? I mean, is it absolutely a horrific process to try and reach your office? Or you want to hire of a certain mothers in the workforce? Like, we have all this data of where there's highest concentrations of mothers in the workforce, or a certain demographic with college education. Do you want to look at how those groupings are interacting with what you're putting out there from a policy standpoint, from a real estate standpoint, from a really internal policy standpoint? I would say this is the biggest, is are you actually taking the time to try and see everybody else's reactions to that situation? Because it's the majority wins at the table usually in terms of conversation and what everyone thinks is happening, but not everyone's always at the table.
I want to pull this up. Jeff says, Anné made me realize how I've accomplished nearly nothing. My new mission statement is now, be as cool as Anné.
Jeff is a legend.
I do want
You're the kindest person ever, Jeff.
I do want to point something out on this. And Anné, I want you to tell me, if you are a Mac user and you ever want to type out Anné's name or Andre's name, it's very simple. You just hold down the E and it pulls you up. Anné, how do you do that if you're a Mac user? How do you do that?
Oh, on a Mac, it's easy. On an actual PC, it's where it gets cut. I literally have to think about it because my hands do it so instinctually. 0-Alt-0233.
Oh, that's
crazy. I do it with something.
Literally, my husband and I were married for shy of, I think, 6 years when I learned that every time he wrote my name, every time he would write cafe, let it autocorrect, and backspace. We've been doing it for almost a decade at this point. So I will never shame anybody for not pronouncing it correctly, or for sure putting the accent on.
I knew it was super hard on a PC. So thank you. Just be Mac users. That's the lesson here.
Agreed.
If you're a Mac user, it makes life easier.
I agree with that.
Right? All right. All right, Mike. I'm excited.
Michael, what is something?
I told you, Mike. Do you always go by Michael?
Oh, don't call me Mike.
I just did it instinctually. You're Michael.
It's Patrick, Aaron.
Well, you know what? It's because you have so many M's. It just all flowed. Michael, so you never go by Mike. Did you ever go by Mike?
No. And if people call me Mike, that means they instantly do not know me, because that is a fate worse than death. So you're forgiven. You get a pass. Hard pass.
Anné is good, but we can't say. Well, I always say Michael, but neither here nor there. What is traits in leadership that you want the audience to know that either you or people you look up to have?
I really enjoy when a boss gives me creative reign. Like, I had a boss once who told me I would pitch a bazillion things, and he would be like, all right, let's narrow it down to, let's take a look. He would never say no to anything, because he told me no gets you nowhere. I mean, yes, not all of these are going to be, you're not going to be able to knock all these out of the park, but at least let's try and see, let's throw stuff against a wall and see what sticks. And that is where I got to learn just how to be creative in a vacuum and how to be my best creative self, because I had a boss that once told me, no gets you nowhere. And so I have paid that forward every time I mentor a writer or an intern or somebody who's under me, an underling. I always say, you know what? Let's go for it. Let's see what sticks. It might not make it all the way to the final draft, or it might not make it to print, but let's work it out. Because if you shoot it down in the beginning, you might just be shooting down a Pulitzer Prize winning story, or you might be shooting down something that could win an Emmy. So that's what I've learned.
That's an awesome answer. Watch The Dropout. Everyone told him no. The story that broke the Elizabeth Holmes case. Great. Okay, Sean, we got about 8 minutes left, so use half of that to tell us your answer.
Okay. I'm still getting over how Anné types her name.
Yeah, Randy Powell right there.
Do not put accents on your kids' names. Do not.
That is a DEI issue for whomever made your laptop. That's not fair.
Anné, what's that thing again? Control what?
Control Alt 0233.
It's like my password. Anyway, back to the topic. I'll divert a little bit. I love the transparency, and I agree with you on the communication. It's become increasingly more prevalent, especially in a remote environment. I've thought in my career, and I've always admittedly, I've never loved the phrase like do what you love or find your passion, because I can't get paid to sit on the couch and watch football. I've always kind of thought to myself, well, concurrently, if people do what they're good at and where their talents lie, 9 times out of 10, they're going to enjoy it, because we all like being good at our respective crafts. I never grew up being an accountant, but I've always liked math, and I've liked working with people, and I've liked problem solving. So it's evolved into a career that I enjoy and I think about when I'm off the clock. So as a leader and someone that oversees people, that's always been a big mission of mine, is with my team, am I putting them in the right position to be successful, whether it be the jobs they're on, the roles they're in, the people that they're working with, and we're never perfect. And oftentimes that even means, look, I don't have you in the right spot. So we're going to recorrect, we're going to identify. It could even be situations where, if I've even, we've interviewed people in the past before, and I've said, look, what do you want to do today? What do you want to do tomorrow? Don't be bashful about saying, I want to be here and then I want to leave in 3 or 4 years. I want to help. We're in charge of developing careers for a lot of our staff. So I think that the leaders that really ties back to everything that comes with this, ultimately it's, you're sweeping the floor, you're being transparent, but you're also in charge of being successful you're in charge of overseeing their success. So how do you put them in the right spots to be successful, to me, is a really, really key element of leadership.
Great answer. I do want to tell you, I just recently started following someone on TikTok. I'm going to have to send him to you. But this man said, I never thought I'd turn watching football into a career. And he is now ESPN's fantasy football announcer. So
there's hope. There's hope. There's hope.
There's a lot of them.
There's some, I was like, fantasy football, that's its own thing now.
But,
how about you?
Sean? Sorry,
yes.
Scott.
I was right.
My turn. My apologies.
Yeah, I think one of the leadership traits that I've had, that's gotten me as far as I've gotten in my career and put me where I'm at today, is just being, the ability to be objective, looking at, both sides of whatever the problem is or argument, and trying to, take the middle path and just, weighing the argument based on the merits of the argument, and not, getting emotionally attached to an idea or a specific argument. But I also like, and this is more important, especially now that I'm not working with professionals every day, because I've been telling my friends and people who talk about my business, it's like the hardest thing that I've had to learn is that when you're not working with professionals, which is what I've done for 25 years, is that whole continuous development cycle, training people almost every day, even though they've had the job for 6 or 9 months, it feels like it's a training opportunity every day. And then giving them, opportunities to improve their self, improve the business based on their, skill sets and traits and things like that. So I'd say, continuous development and objectivity are things that I've sort of latched onto in my career.
All right, let me pull up Fred's right here. Where Fred says, respect your team. Talk to them like they're people and not a line item on P&L. Learn about what their interests are and talk to them about those. It doesn't have to always be about work-related matters. I agree, Fred. That is awesome. All right, you guys were supposed to go all the way to the hour, so we didn't have to do the icebreaker, which is the least favorite part of my show, but you guys failed at that. So you have about 35 seconds per answer, Scott. So come up with a very quick, stupid icebreaker, and everyone's got about 30 seconds to answer.
This is a challenge and a icebreaker. So it's not something maybe you do, but say something you want to do. I think we don't celebrate our wins. I think Erin just had one of her biggest weeks in terms of new business close. I still don't think she's celebrated, but my son got a green tip on his belt in karate, and we get ice cream. So when my wife has success, we get ice cream. Anné, what do you do when you have success to treat yourself when you succeed?
Oh, it's a great question. Not enough, probably, like everybody. I just had a nonprofit client I've been working with for years on a project trying to find a house, and I was very happy. We all went out for drinks last week and celebrated together with the buyer, seller, both brokerage teams on both sides, went out for drinks to celebrate. It was a years and years in the making deal that this nonprofit really, really needs. And we never do that. That never happens. And I was very happy that this came to essence, the deal, but very much appreciated everyone coming together and realizing that was a really hard deal to get done, and we did, and this organization needed it. So
Michael, 35 seconds. How do you celebrate? How do you treat yourself?
If I'm celebrating my success in something, I think we all know that self-care is the best care. So I will take a moment to pat myself on the back and go get a massage. And why would I want to get a 60-minute massage when you can get a 90-minute massage? So depending on what that looks like, I will go out of my way to be good to myself. I
need to adapt that
on a number of levels, because
Michael.
Because you know what? If you're not good to yourself, ain't nobody else going to do it for you. That's my motto. So there you go.
Sean, what do you do to celebrate or treat yourself after a win?
So admittedly, we've been so busy and in growth mode that I haven't had the chance as much as I should to take a step back and enjoy the wins. Recently, I've been celebrating wins by drinking too much with you on Thursdays.
So it's the best medicine. I think Michael's going to
take Friday off. I take Friday off.
That's right. All right, Scott, what do you do to celebrate or treat yourself besides having a 4.9 rating on Google, which is one of the best ratings in all of Kansas City? Not your own food. What do you do to treat yourself?
I hate celebrating myself, but so I'm a Tex-Mex man. So we have piñatas. I just go bust one every time, we get a 5-star rating.
Awesome.
I'm kidding. I like to mountain bike. So I'll make time for that when I feel like we're doing well enough that I can step away from the business, for an afternoon or, 2-day adventure, something like that. So I like to mountain bike.
Erin, what are you going to do to treat yourself after all these wins?
Jeff says a nice bourbon is positive self-care. I don't know. I'm terrible. I'm great. I'm very lucky. I have a partner that makes me, so I come home to baths and flowers and all of that. So she takes care. She schedules my 90-minute massages when I forget to do it. How about you, Scott?
I've been doing an ice cream. That's not my personal thing. I get plenty of TLC with Mr. Sean Kennedy and yourself and Anné and Michael and Scott, soon to be. but I have a lot of really, really good buddies that we indulge.
The boys drink to celebrate. I drink to get through. So it's all what it is, right? Stephen, I don't want to skip your comment. Last comment of the day. I believe empathy for each person's situation builds trust in the leader. Getting people to choose to actively participate is the tough, but the most important. We're going to end on those words. Thank you so much to this incredible panel. Thank you, Scott, for co-hosting with me. You're the best. Thank you, Bacon Blue Valley. Thank you, Burns and McDonnell. We will see you same time, same place next week. See you later. Have a good week.